been interesting times for the headlines. A longtime city employee opened fire in a municipal building in Virginia Beach, killing 12 people. U.S. Acting Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan denounced China's efforts to steal technology from other nations and militarize man-made outposts in the South China Sea as a toolkit of coercion, saying Beijing's bad behavior must end. Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte in Japan said that he is deeply concerned about the U.S. and China's trade war and that there must be a resolution. And the search continues for 21 missing passengers as divers descended into the Danube and Hungarian officials work from the surface on Saturday. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles. Welcome to the program. And now to the news. A longtime city employee opened fire in a municipal building in Virginia Beach on Friday, killing 12 people on 3 floors and sending terrified co-workers scrambling for cover before police shot and killed him following a long gun battle. Take a look. The police chief of Virginia Beach provided more details of the shooting at a municipal building, saying that 4 officers, including 2 dog handlers, had engaged the suspect in what he described as a long-term gun battle. James Rivera added that one of the officers, who was wearing a bullet-proof vest, was injured in the exchange.
There was one victim outside. He entered the building. He was armed with a .45 caliber handgun that had a suppressor on it. I can tell you that there was numerous shots fired by the individual. Shots were fired from various places down the hallway that the officers at one time returned. Basically, the ammunition that they had. So when we talk about this kind of a situation, and many times when we talk about an officer-involved shooting situation, it may be minimal rounds by the suspect and by the police officers. This was well beyond that. This was a long-term, but the best I could describe it is it was a long-term gun battle for police officers.
It's about security around these government buildings. How many police there are normally there, and are people allowed to enter these buildings with weapons?
The individual in question is an employee. He has access to the building. He came in with a weapon today.
So he would not have been checked or...
No, he would not have been.
Chief, was any officers injured?
One officer did sustain a wound during the gun battle. Fortunately, his bulletproof vest basically saved his life. And he was attended to at the scene, but then we then brought him to the hospital afterwards to make sure that everything was okay with the officer.
Meanwhile, the mayor of Virginia Beach said the killing of 12 people in the shooting on Friday was the city's darkest hour.
Today is Virginia Beach's darkest hour. A senseless crime happened and imposed tremendous grief upon the people of Virginia Beach, the Commonwealth, and this country. When we get through the shock of it all, and we get through the details that we must go through over the next day or two, I believe that our community, Virginia Beach, along with our neighbors in our other cities, in Hampton Roads and our Commonwealth and our country, will be there for not only the families, because that's when they're going to need us going forward, but we're going to show that Virginia Beach is a city of resolve and dedication. And, we are going to be there for all the families, the friends, and our community in a big way.
The shooting sent shockwaves through Virginia Beach, the state's largest city and a popular vacation spot in southeastern Virginia. The building where the attack took place is in suburban complex miles away from the high-rise hotels along the beach and the downtown business area. The governor of Virginia on Friday said it was a horrific day for the state.
This is a horrific day for the Commonwealth of Virginia. Our hearts ache over the senseless violence that has been inflicted upon the Virginia Beach community today. My deepest condolences and prayers go to the families of those who left home this morning and will not return tonight.
Meanwhile, Megan Banton, who is an administrative assistant at the Virginia Beach Public Works Department, described the moments during the shooting.
Did you hear anything from anyone?
We just heard that there was an active shooter, and we just barricaded ourselves in offices to make sure that we were all safe, and I called 911 just to get them to come there as fast as possible. And my boss basically was like, "This is not a drill, get down, call 911. And that's when I called 911, and we all just ran in her office and closed the door. We heard gunshots, we kept hearing gunshots, and we kept hearing the cops saying, "Get out," and it was very muffled, but the stairwell was right next to the office, so we kept hearing like people talking, and we heard the canines come up the steps.
Outside the school, Sheila Cook, a Virginia municipal employee, said she was going through a lot of emotions.
I'm just going through a lot of emotion because it's way too much killing going on, and I'm just glad that they alerted us in enough time so we wouldn't be outside when everything was occurring. So I'm happy about that, but I'm still shaken because it's just entirely too much killing going on.
And staying in the U.S., relentless flooding in the central U.S. inundated communities and damaged or spilled over levees on 3 major rivers in 2 states. And authorities discovered the body of a drowning victim at a Missouri lake. The fast-flowing Arkansas River smashed a 40-foot hole in a levee in rural western Arkansas, causing water to spill into a nearby community. In northeast Missouri, a levee was overtopped on the Missouri River or Mississippi River, and another levee was topped on the Missouri River in the central part of the state. The flooding has been building for days because of heavy rainfall upstream. In Arkansas, officials were warning of more potential problems on an already strained levee system. A flash flood warning was issued early Friday for the area, and forecasters said residents should be prepared for rapidly rising water. The levee breached because of ongoing flooding along the Arkansas River, which began in Oklahoma.
It's pretty bad. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this. A lot of homes, a lot of properties damaged. It's kind of sad. I think it's going to take a while to go down, so I just hope that everybody just be sure and heed the barricades and the warnings that you're getting from the police departments.
Residents in flooded regions along the swollen river filled temporary shelters and wondered what will be left of their possessions when they finally return.
I was out here on the streets, and I had everything on my back. You know, all of my important paper, my birth certificate is gone, everything is gone. Clothing, my tent, my sleeping bag, my medicine, everything. Whenever I came back to where my camp was, it was flooded, and this is what I had on. That's all I have. The last 2 days, I filled up sandbags. These are my neighbors. These are people that I depend on, and they, when need be, they depend on me.
Because we were in the tent when the storm came, and it flooded out, wet our whole tent down where we had to get out. We got food down there that's probably no good anymore. But we made out with alive, and that's what counts.
The annual start of hurricane season throws a shadow of dread over many coastal sections of the U.S. Officials are warning to be prepared and plan ahead.
So yeah, another hurricane season, and one of the messages that we've been really trying to get across is the fact that when you close your eyes and you think about a hurricane, most people think of the wind. But we look at the data. In the last 3 years, 83% of fatalities has been indeed the flooding. It's the inland flooding. And over half of those in automobiles. Historically, storm surge. It's the water. It's the inland water that's hurting people. So another season, the waters are already warm, and now's the time to prepare as we're kicking off the season. You got to be ready for the hurricane. Be ready for the water.
Graham also said his team is working to make official storm surge warnings 72 hours in advance, which they hope to roll out by 2022. He says the warnings can help mitigate issues during evacuations, but adds that it's important for residents to pay attention to official announcements and warnings.
Well, the things that concern me most are individuals not listening to state and local emergency managers when they issue warnings. The information that we're getting through the forecast models is increasingly accurate, and when they issue watches and warnings, that's the time to take action. But the time to prepare is now. But you can't wait until there's a watch or warning and then try to prepare, because the shelves will be empty, the roads will be crowded. That's the most important message. The other thing that I really want to make sure people understand is don't just focus on the cone. You know, that these storms are hundreds of miles across, and the impacts extend well outside of the cone. And lastly, it's not just the categories of storms and the wind. Most fatalities occur in these storms because of water and flooding. So it's storm surge as well as inland rainfall. That's the biggest problem.
The official hurricane season starts from Saturday, June 1st. Officials insisted it's important for everyone to know the actions to take when a hurricane is approaching their area. Meanwhile, more bad news for residents of the northern Alberta community of High Level in Western Canada, which is threatened by a wildfire. Our EBC correspondent Thomas Likeness reports.
More bad news for residents of the northern Alberta community of High Level in Western Canada, which is threatened by a wildfire. A shift in wind direction could push the blaze even closer to the community. The fire remains out of control. It's only 3 kilometers from the town limits. The latest development means it will be a while longer before about 5,000 people who were forced from their homes can return and sleep in their own beds. Residents have gone to other communities where they've been living in hotels and evacuation centers or with friends and relatives since last week. Many of those people took refuge in the town of Slave Lake, nearly 6 hours away. One of them, Richard King, told Eagle News it was a frightening experience.
Oh yeah, it's my first time. I haven't experienced this in the Philippines, so we're panicking and stuff. Like, yeah, when we get up from High Level, we're panicking.
Troy Clement echoed those thoughts, saying it was tough on the family.
Scary? It was pretty scary. You know, kids, pets, they don't take it as well. They can't deal with it as well as us, so a little tougher on them.
Some people left their pets.
Waldemir Ritsky says the inferno surrounding the town left him feeling uneasy and uncertain about the future.
I was frightened. Of course, if you get evacuated, you don't think very good. I thought potentially the town can be compromised, and who knows if I ever will come back, right? And if I do, where will my home be?
Brian Vance is Slave Lake's chief administrative officer. He's been putting in long days making sure those who fled the fire are cared for, and Vance says so far they haven't had to use the evacuation center.
Well, there's none being housed at the evacuation center. We have booked hotels for all the evacuees in Slave Lake. We do have the option of center at the multi-rec center. We've got up to 1,200 beds there, but we haven't had to use it.
Vance says the evacuees are getting more than just lodging.
Well, what we are making sure is that they have food. We've been providing food vouchers the first day, and now we've got the food truck with the Salvation Army. There's also kits with toothpaste and shampoo and stuff available. We've got lots of those kits.
The Alberta government has stepped up to the plate and is giving evacuees money to cover their expenses. The weather at high level remains hot and dry with no rain in the forecast in the near future, and the fate of the town hinges on the wind. Firefighters are hoping it will not fan the flames any further and push the blaze closer to the town. Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News, I'm 1 with 25.
Meanwhile, Hungarian authorities believe it will take an extended search to find the 21 people still missing after a boat carrying South Korean tourists was rammed by a cruise ship and sank into the river in Budapest. 7 people so far are confirmed dead and 7 others were rescued. Divers have gone into the Danube but have been unable to inspect the wreckage of the boat due to the extremely murky waters and heavy currents from recent rains. Officials say it could take days to recover the 70-year-old boat, which was built in the former Soviet Union. All right, on a lighter note, before we go on a break, the first Kiwinoy member of New Zealand Parliament, or MP, Paulo Garcia, delivered his historical maiden speech. MP Garcia was sworn in on May 21st as the list member of Parliament in New Zealand for the New Zealand National Party, marking the first time an MP of Filipino descent is holding the office. EBC New Zealand Bureau correspondent Greg Bessa reports.
Members of the Filipino community in New Zealand gathered today at the Chamber Gallery of the House of Representatives of New Zealand to witness and hear the first privilege speech of Attorney Paulo Garcia, the first member of Parliament from a Filipino descent. He took his oath of office before the Speaker of Parliament on May 21st, 2019. A lawyer by profession, a community leader, and a former honorary consul general at the Philippine Embassy in Auckland, Attorney Garcia's inclusion into Parliament is considered as a significant milestone in the history of the diplomatic relationship between New Zealand and the Philippines that officially started in 1966. On his speech, he emphasized that the works of Filipinos are no longer confined within the health and aged care, information technology, or dairy farming, but is also now in the legislative work. He further added that he will be bringing the Filipino values in doing his parliamentary duties. For the first time in history, a brief speech in Filipino was officially delivered at Parliament.
This is what the Filipino is all about. We are about faith, we are about family, we are about friendships and strong relationships. Yes! Kaya po ako nandito dahil sa magandang example ninyo kung nasaan kayo nagtatrabaho at nagbuhay, kayo ay nagdadala ng pangalang Pilipino sa bansang New Zealand. Sama-sama tayo na dahil sa ating trabaho at pamilya at gawa, tayo ay kinikilala ng bansang New Zealand na nakaka-contribute sa bansang ito.
As the bilateral ties between New Zealand and the Philippines continue to prosper, Attorney Paulo's representation at Parliament is expected to open more opportunities for further collaboration between the two countries in terms of trade and employment, mutual cultural understanding, and people-to-people movement. Filipino and New Zealander leaders alike have expressed their happiness of having the first member of Parliament from the Philippines.
I'm very, very proud of it that we have one person in the Parliament, and it's the first major open for the next president to come. And I'm very proud that this is one of my missions, that one day we will have a member of the Parliament who is a Filipino. And I'm very happy.
Today is a great day. Today, my friend Paulo Garcia became an MP. And I've worked with Paulo for many years, and we share a lot of common things. Love of our family, love of our new country. I'm Irish, he's Filipino. We came here for one thing, to have a better life for our family. And I think with Paulo in Parliament, level now, we as a country have just stepped up a little bit more than we were some weeks ago. I look forward with working with him as we meet other members of your fantastic community. It is an honor to be part of this great day.
As of present, there are more than 50,000 Filipinos and New Zealanders from Filipino descent in New Zealand. Many of them are working in the vital industries across the country with the needed skills and expertise in sustaining the economy. Being trading partners, the trading and services exchange have increased significantly between New Zealand and the Philippines over the years. New Zealand is also one of the favorite destinations of Filipinos in pursuing academic studies and finding employment.
Reporting from London, welcome to New Zealand. I am Greg Bessa. I am one and 25.
Thank you, Greg Bessa, reporting from our New Zealand Bureau. And Eagle News International will be right back. Stay tuned.
Health is our most important asset, and it should always be a constant effort to seek ways to take care of it. That includes professional medical help from the best available. The Manila-Beijing Medical Associated Incorporated is known as one of the most specialized centers in medical services, backed by several experienced physicians in Chinese medicine. At an accuracy rate of 98%, countless patients who visited Manila-Beijing Medical Associated Incorporated have already been treated and cured.
Marami ko ospital na napuntahan, pero wala ring nangyayari. Somebody introduced me to Manila-Beijing Medical Associated. After 2 treatments, gumanda ang pakiramdam ko.
My friends introduced me Manila-Beijing Medical Associated, and luckily, I got cured. So I sincerely want to thank the doctors of Manila-Beijing Medical Associated.
For the past 30 years, ang dami ko nang na-take na mga gamot. Nothing happened to me. So until one my friend introduced me to Manila-Beijing Medical Associated, you know what? All my illness was cured.
For any health problems or incurable diseases, you can visit Manila.
back. The main suspect in the bombing last week in the French city of Lyon that wounded 14 people had pledged allegiance to the ISIS group. That's according to France's counter-terrorism prosecutor. Remy Heights said in a statement, the 24-year-old man has admitted making the bomb and depositing the device in front of a bakery. He will be brought before an investigation judge. The suspect, identified only as Mohamed Hitchem, was arrested on Monday. He arrived in France on a tourist visa in August 2017, but failed to leave again. Police did not give his nationality, but some French media reported that he was Algerian. He was unknown to police services before the incident. He was handed preliminary charges Friday of attempted murder, criminal terrorist conspiracy, and manufacturing, possessing, and carrying an explosive device in relation with a terrorist undertaking. French President Emmanuel Macron had called the explosion an attack, but no group has claimed responsibility for the explosion yet. Acting U.S. Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan hit out at China on Saturday during an international gathering of defense and military officials in Singapore. Amid claims of Chinese technology theft and military posturing in the region, Shanahan told the annual Shangri-La conference that Washington would not ignore China's behavior. And he insisted he would not apologize for his comments. Take a look.
I won't apologize, for the way I, framed some of my remarks, but, we're not going to ignore Chinese behavior. Okay? I think in the past people have kind of tiptoed around that. It's not about being confrontational, it's about being open and having a dialogue.
He also reaffirmed America's commitment to the Indo-Pacific region.
Or should dominate the Indo-Pacific. No one nation can or should dominate the Indo-Pacific. Competition does not mean conflict. Competition is not to be feared. We should welcome it, provided that everyone plays by internationally established rules. The Indo-Pacific is our priority theater. We are where we belong. We are investing in this region. We are investing in you and with you.
Fox Business anchor Trish Reagan and an anchor for Chinese state television network CGTN, Liu Xin, held a long U.S. primetime interview on trade relations between the two countries in which the two anchors frequently disagreed, even talking over one another. The interview got off to a rocky start with the Chinese TV host insisting that she was speaking only for herself and not the Chinese Communist Party. Take a look.
I need to correct
I'm going
because
to ask you. I'm going to jump in. I guess our satellites
I am
are
not.
kind of
I am
weird,
not.
But tell me, forgive me. You are not what?
Yeah, Trish, I have to get it straight. I am not a member of the Communist Party of China. This is on the record. So please don't assume that I'm a member, and I don't speak for the Communist Party of China. And I'm here for today. I'm only speaking for myself as Liu Xin, a journalist working for CGTN. So if anybody wants to quote me or anything, please put my name there at least. Okay.
Okay, appreciate it. What's your current assessment?
The two anchors then went on to talk about intellectual property theft, tariffs, and the nature of the world's two largest economies. Take a look.
The Chinese government has made its position very clear that unless the United States treat the Chinese government, treat the Chinese negotiating team with respect and show the willingness to talk without using outside pressure, there is high possibility that there could be a productive trade deal. Otherwise, I think we might be facing a prolonged period of province for both sides.
For months, the world's two biggest economies have been locked in a standoff over allegations that China deploys predatory tactics, including stealing trade secrets and forcing foreign companies to hand over technology in a drive to supplant U.S. technological dominance. The Trump administration has imposed 25% tariffs on $250 billion in Chinese imports and is planning to tax the $300 billion in imports that have so far been spared. And it escalated the stakes this month by putting the Chinese telecom giant Huawei on a blacklist that effectively bars U.S. companies from supplying it with computer chips, software, and other components without government approval. Chinese state media is warning that Beijing could cut America off from exotic minerals that are widely used in electric cars and mobile phones. Meanwhile, Singaporean Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong on Friday said countries, including the United States, need to be willing to change international rules in response to a stronger China. Speaking at an annual security conference in Singapore, Lee said that China must in turn play a greater role in supporting trade frameworks and upholding peace and stability in the region and beyond.
Countries have to accept that China will continue to grow and strengthen, and that it is neither possible nor wise for them to prevent this from happening. China will have its own legitimate interests and ambitions, including to develop indigenously advanced technologies like infocomms and artificial intelligence. New international rules need to be made in many areas, including trade and intellectual property, cybersecurity, and social media.
Now, Lee was the keynote speaker at the Shangri-La Dialogue, attended by U.S. Acting Secretary of Defense Patrick Shanahan, Chinese Defense Minister Wei Fenghe, and other defense officials and academics. He noted that the U.S. has the most difficult adjustment to make as the preeminent power. Earlier this month, both countries concluded their 11th round of trade talks with no agreement and raised import taxes on each other's goods.
However difficult the task, it is well worth the U.S. forging a new understanding that will integrate China's aspirations within the current system of rules and norms. The fundamental problem between the U.S. and China is a mutual lack of strategic trust. This bodes ill for any compromise or peaceful accommodation. But to go down the present path would be a serious mistake on both sides. There is no strategic inevitability about a U.S.-China face-off.
A group of international astronomers say they've observed a forbidden planet closely orbiting a star. It was found in the Neptunian Desert, a zone previously thought to be inhospitable to gaseous Neptune-like planets. Peering into the cosmos, astronomers have come across a previously unknown exoplanet, and that's challenged their understanding of stars and solar systems. The study, published Wednesday by the Royal Astronomical Survey, reveals the discovery of NGTS-48, or 4b rather. It was found in the Neptunian Desert, a zone close to stars previously thought to be inhospitable to gaseous Neptune-like planets. Now, this area receives such strong heat and radiation, it was thought planets would not be able to retain their gaseous atmosphere. It would simply evaporate, leaving only a rocky core. But NGTS-4b still has its gaseous atmosphere. That's why it's been nicknamed the Forbidden Planet by researchers. It's about 3 times the size of Earth and 920 light years away from our planet. Responding to a question asked by Associated Press, Daniel Baylis from the University of Warwick, who worked in the study, said this.
This planet is very, very close to its star. In fact, it orbits its star every 1.3 days. So a year on this planet is only 1.3 days. So that gives you some sense of how close it is to the star. And when you're that close to a star, then you get a lot of radiation from the star, and it's enough to strip off the layers of an atmosphere on a planet that's about the size of Neptune. We think it's probably about 1,000 degrees Celsius on this planet. So far, people searching for planets haven't found planets like this. And we thought that was because a planet about the size of Neptune, this close to the host star, would get evaporated. And previous surveys have indeed found no planets in this zone, and that's why it got called the Neptune Desert, or the Forbidden Zone. So this discovery came as a surprise to us. For this forbidden planet to exist at all, there must be something else going on that we haven't quite worked out. It's possible that the system is very young and it just hasn't had time to evaporate off the planet. Or perhaps the planet has just moved in there quite recently. Another possibility is that the star is just not emitting the radiation that we thought, and somehow it hasn't been enough to evaporate the planet.
Astronomers made the discovery using the Next Generation Transit Survey, an array of 12 20-centimeter telescopes at the European Southern Observatory's Paranal Observatory in Chile's Atacama Desert. They looked for a dip in light from a star as the exoplanet passed across it during its orbit. Bayless said they identified NGTS 4b from a dip in signal of just 0.1%.
What's special about this discovery for the first time is we've been able to discover a signal that's only 0.1%. So this is the first time from the ground we've been able to discover such a tiny signal, and that's why we were able to discover a planet that's much, much smaller than a Jupiter, so more like a Neptune.
And the news continues here on Eagle News International. We'll be right back.
Health is our most important asset, and it
For business news, this is Cesar Vallejos. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe met Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte in Tokyo on Friday for a bilateral summit in which the two countries reaffirmed their friendship and support on multiple levels. Duterte and Abe discussed trade, investment, and growing Chinese activity in disputed regional seas. The Philippine President reaffirmed the need to keep up this unprecedented level of cooperation between the two countries in a changing world. At a joint news conference with Abe, Duterte said he was pleased with the growing interest and confident the Philippines is a preferred trade and investment destination for Japanese businesses.
日本はドテルテ大統領による積極的なインフラ整備政策であるビルドを支える最大のパートナーです。引き続き質の高いインフラ支援を通じてフィリピンの持続可能な経済発展を強力に後押しします。
I am pleased with the growing interest and confidence in the Philippines as a preferred trade and investment destination by Japanese businesses. I am grateful for Japan's fresh commitment of around 25 billion yen for the development of Mindanao's road network, vocational training facilities, and equipment and other projects.
Duterte here at my official residence once again, where we just had our 7th
Abe pledged Japan will continue to strongly support the Philippines' sustainable economic development, including quality infrastructure projects in politically unstable Mindanao in the south. Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte said that he is deeply concerned about the U.S. and China's trade war and that there must be a resolution. During his speech at the forum in Tokyo, he also called for the rest of the world to take accountability for fighting global climate change.
We are deeply concerned about the ongoing trade war between the U.S. and China. It is creating uncertainty and tension. It is causing downward stressors of the global economy. It is becoming a protracted war on the global and trade investments everywhere. The world is watching in earnest. There must be a resolution soon. The Philippines joined the global consensus to fight climate change. We hope that this consensus would hold and real action be undertaken, especially by those most responsible for this monumental problem. Government must comply with obligations beyond our constituency. The problem of grave to humanity affects the entire human population. There has to be an accountability.
He also sought to assure potential investors in the Philippines that they don't need to worry, that their money is safe and that there is no corruption.
Who wants investments? Who wants it? My country needs it. Now, the investors, be it Japanese, Chinese, the first thing is our money safe? Well, in my term, it is safe. Is there no corruption? There is no corruption. I have killed all of them already. Some, but not all.
Stocks stumbled on Wall Street Friday after the U.S. announced plans to expand its trade war to Mexico. The slump all but guarantees the market will end May with its first monthly loss of 2019. The new front in the trade war is hitting automakers particularly hard. Many of them import vehicles into the U.S. from Mexico. Technology stocks led the decliners. They have been hurt the most over escalating rhetoric and tariffs in the U.S. trade war with China. Cisco fell 1.9% and Microsoft fell 1.3%.
Ultimately, U.S. consumers will be the ones paying the tariffs, or at least a big chunk of it. Companies can try to pass it along, but there is pressure to move those cost increases along down the line. They can't absorb all of them without taking big hits to their own profits.
Banks were among the sharpest decliners as higher bond prices pushed yields lower. Investors have been shifting more money into bonds over concerns that economic growth will be crimped by the ongoing trade war. Lower interest rates make lending less profitable for banks. Citigroup fell 1.4% and Bank of America fell 1.2%.
So the bond market's usually the boring part of the financial world, but right now it's where a lot of the action is happening. people are worried, and when people are worried, they usually run to U.S. government bonds. Right now, what's happening that's strange is that people are willing to lend money to the government for a long time for lower yields than for a short time, so 10 years rather than 3 months. That is usually something that happens before a recession, and that's why everybody is really attuned to it happening. And it's been in effect for the last week or so. It's an indication that people think that economic growth is going to slow or get much weaker, and that they think that the Federal Reserve is going to have to cut interest rates to help shore up whatever growth there is.
Energy companies are sinking under the weight Energy companies are sinking under the weight of falling oil prices. The price of crude oil slid 2.4%. Occidental Petroleum fell 2.2% and Valero Energy fell 3%.
This week and this month have really been all about trade and tariffs and what could be coming next that nobody would be expecting. And it's knocked down stocks, it's sent bond yields to the floor, and it's really sent commodities on a mixed bag where gold is up, oil is down, and everybody's looking for safety.
A top business leader in Arizona says President Donald Trump's plan for Mexico tariffs would be terrible for consumers and businesses for the state and would have a ripple effect across the U.S. Glenn Hammer, President and CEO of the Arizona Chamber of Commerce and Industry, said the tariffs would be costly for consumers and businesses, especially if they were to continue and to increase.
So for Arizona, $9 billion of imports come in from Mexico. For the country as a whole, it's $370 billion. Let's put that in perspective. $9 billion at a 5% tariff, which is a polite way of saying taxes, means a $450 million or so tax increase on the consumers of Arizona. That's not to mention the ripple effects on businesses that are using products from Mexico. We have an emerging auto tech sector in this state, and the reason why we're doing so well in that area, one of the major reasons, is because of the auto supply chain in Mexico. As you put tariffs on those goods, you could jeopardize the profitability of these Arizona manufacturers. So this is terrible for consumers. It's terrible for businesses. There are no winners in this proposal, only losers. Well, the president has put the wheels in motion, as I understand it, so that these tariffs could go into effect as early as June 10th, and then ratchet up 5%, 5%, 5%, 5% until it gets to 25% in October. And I just also want to point out that if they got to 25%, that would exceed a $2 billion tax increase on Arizona consumers. And I, for one, I don't want to have to take out a mortgage to buy avocado toast. I mean, we would see incredibly serious price spikes on tomatoes, avocados, and really anything that comes over from Mexico, including automobiles and auto parts.
Thursday night's surprise announcement of the plan by Trump threatening to upend ratification chances for his own revised North American Free Trade Pact demonstrated the lengths to which the risk-taking president is willing to go to crack down on illegal immigration, even in the face of bipartisan criticism, legal challenges, and polarized public feelings. He's setting the tricky politics of immigration and trade, the two issues that defined his candidacy and bedevil his presidency, on a collision course and injecting new tensions into his relations with political allies as he struggles to show results in his campaign for a second term. On Wednesday, a group of 1,036, including families and unaccompanied children, was appended after crossing from Juarez. That was the largest group ever apprehended at the border.
We want to solve the migrant problem, and it is a very, very real problem, and we want to help solve it. We have to work cooperatively with our friend and neighbor, Mexico. Our interests are aligned here, And to take this action and to basically blame Mexico for a problem that really the root of the cause, or that you have 3 countries in Central America that are very violent and unraveling, is just wrong.
During the Shangri-La Dialogue Defense Summit held in Singapore, Acting U.S. Secretary of Defense Patrick Shanahan says the United States is investing heavily in the Indo-Pacific region to maintain its military superiority and capability to defend its Asian allies, while also commenting Huawei is too close to the Chinese government.
We are undertaking a significant modernization effort which is underpinned by innovation, experimentation, and new technology that will allow us to combat new threats, to strengthen our alliances and build new partnerships by allowing us to communicate and share at speed. Huawei is too close to the government. The integration of civilian businesses with the military is too close. You have China has national policies and laws where data is required to be shared. So when I look at that situation, that's too much risk for the department.
Ties between the two powers are once again taking center stage at the weekend Singapore conference known as the Shangri-La Dialogue, which gathers defense ministers and top military officials from around the world. While the forum is purely on security, the discussions are also being held against a backdrop of Sino-US trade tensions and high-tech rivalry.
In our geographic focus, the priority theater.
What is claimed to be the world's first 5G laptop is being showcased by Lenovo and Qualcomm at this year's Computex event in Taiwan. They claim it will revolutionize connectivity and will be capable of multi-gigabit speeds with long battery life. This is the face of future technology, the world's first 5G laptop. Qualcomm, an American telecommunications equipment company, along with Lenovo, are launching the device equipped with a Snapdragon 8CX compute platform. It's claimed the laptop will revolutionize the way we interact, so much so that it will be difficult to predict what technology will be developed from this in the future. The platform is a combination of Central Processing Unit or CPUs and Graphics Processing Unit or GPUs found in a traditional PC. Presenting this new technology at Computex Taipei 2019 is Alex Katuzian, Qualcomm Technologies Senior Vice President, General Manager of Mobile Compute Business Unit. He explains the advantages of this new technology.
But now imagine your computer being very, very light, no fans, very good form factors, gigabit LTE, multi-gigabit LTE connectivity to start with, then 5G connectivity to follow. And then you have great performance and you have very long battery life. So now you can cut your cords and be free. Anywhere you are, you can do your work. Anywhere you are, you can do your work, and your battery life will last multiple days. You have situations where you could do video conferencing, face recognition if you don't remember someone's name, being able to do real-time translation, be able to edit and send files, upload big files, download big files, and in very, very fast time frame. So that all is going to start changing the user experience.
When 4G was brought to the world, users experienced different, more convenient lifestyles. Now it's claimed we're on a verge of a new technology era.
And then the third category of 5G experiences that we expect are some things that are going to be brand new. For example, when 4G launched to the world, ride sharing didn't exist. But because of 4G, because of the fast data speeds, and because of the location-based services, ride-sharing services like Uber and Didi and all those services blossomed under the 4G world, we're expecting to see the same type of innovation happen in 5G. We just don't know what it is yet.
Applied to social media, 5G enables quicker responses and real-time feedbacks. On this Taiwan's Institute for Information Industry booth, they are showcasing the equipment for a 5G virtual reality social media they are developing. The idea is to create a mobile extended reality community platform which can integrate video clips with live video and present them into virtual space. And that's it for business and technology news. This is Cesar Vallejos. I'm one with 25. Eagle News International will be back. Stay with us.
Nickelodeon released its first look at the rebooted classic kids program, Blue's Clues, with a new host, Filipino-American Joshua De La Cruz. Nickelodeon is relaunching the beloved children's program with this Filipino-American host. They released the first look video on Wednesday. The rebrand, which premieres in November 2019, also got a new title, and it's going to be called Blue's Clues and You. De La Cruz can sing as well. He has previously been an ensemble member in Aladdin on Broadway, and also he served as an understudy for Aladdin. The original series, hosted by Steve Burns, ran from 1996 until 2002, one of the longest-running shows in the network's history. Burns, who had a hand in the search for the new host, told HuffPost in September that De La Cruz brings imagination and authenticity to the role, and the show will have a whole new generation, he said, of preschoolers searching for clues. Nick Jr. said in a statement that Blue's Clues went off the air in 2006. And finally, in our news, talented Filipino rapper Rapido has released Bacante, the new single released by E25 Records. Take a look. single was produced by E25 Records, the newest record label in the Philippines, owned and operated by Eagle Broadcasting Corporation. So watch out for more. And with that, we end tonight's program. For everyone here on Eagle News International, I'm Alma Angeles. Always one with 25. Good night.